She had spent years working in a place where danger was expected. A job where threats came from the other side of the bars. A life built on routine, control, and the constant awareness that safety could never be taken for granted. But what she never saw coming, the one threat she never prepared for, was the man she trusted the most. It started with a conversation. A question that should have been harmless. A moment that, in any other relationship, might have led to a discussion, maybe an argument, but nothing more. Yet, for her, it was the beginning of the end. She had noticed things. Small things. The way he gripped his phone a little tighter when she walked into the room. The way his breathing would change when certain topics came up. The hesitation before answering questions that should have required no thought at all. A flicker in his eyes when confronted. Was it guilt? Shame? Fear? She didn't know. What she did know was that something wasn't right. And so, she asked. A simple question. One that should have led to an explanation. Instead, it led to silence. Then anger. Then something far worse. That night, she reached out to a friend. A text message. Short. Uneasy. The kind of message you send when you know something is off, but you don't quite have the words to say it. I think I messed up. That was the last thing she ever wrote. Hours later, she was gone. Her body was found in a place that should have never held her final moments. The evidence, damning, undeniable, painted a picture of betrayal, of rage, of a truth someone was willing to kill to keep hidden. What had she uncovered that made her boyfriend snap? What was he hiding that made him decide she couldn't be allowed to live? And the most haunting question of all, did she know, in those final moments, that the man she once loved was about to end her life? Stay with me as we retrace her final days, uncover the secrets that led to her murder, and ask the question that lingers long after the crime: was justice truly served? Her name was Stephanie Johnson. A 32-year-old correction officer from Atlanta, Georgia. She was a woman who had built her life around discipline and structure. She worked at the Fulton County Jail, a place where danger was expected, where confrontations were part of the job. She knew how to stay calm in tense situations, how to assert authority, how to read people. But outside the walls of the jail, she was more than just an officer. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. A woman with dreams bigger than the life she was living. She talked about moving up in her career, maybe even transitioning into law enforcement. She had plans to buy a house, to build a future. Friends described her as fiercely independent but deeply loyal. If she loved you, she fought for you. If she believed in something, she never backed down. On her social media, Stephanie posted about fitness, about pushing herself beyond limits, about standing strong in the face of adversity. She loved motivational quotes, her favorite. The truth may hurt for a little while, but a lie hurts forever. At the time, no one knew how chillingly prophetic those words would become. Her boyfriend was Marcus Holloway, 35 years old, a man with a smooth charm and a carefully maintained image. He worked as a security guard, though his ambitions stretched beyond that. He wanted respect, power, control. And in his relationship with Stephanie, he had all of those things, until the night she questioned him. Their relationship had started fast. Passionate. Intense. The kind of connection that burns hot in the beginning, but over time, the cracks started to show. Marcus was private, too private. He guarded his phone like it held secrets too dangerous to be revealed. He would disappear for hours, sometimes days, without explanation. And when Stephanie asked questions, his responses were clipped, evasive. Then, there were the rumors. Friends recalled a night, just weeks before her death, when Stephanie confided in them. She had seen something, messages, profiles, something that didn't add up. Marcus had a hidden life. Conversations with trans women. Flirtations, arrangements. A world Stephanie knew nothing about until she stumbled upon it. At first, she didn't say anything. She told herself she was overreacting. That maybe it wasn't what it looked like. That if she brought it up, it would turn into a fight. But the thoughts wouldn't leave her alone. On the night of March 18, 2024, she finally asked him. It was late, 11:47 p.m., when the first message came through to her best friend, Lisa Carter. I just asked him. He's freaking out. Then, 11:58 p.m., another message. I think I made a mistake. The final text came at 12:09 a.m. If anything happens, tell my mom I love her. And then, silence. A neighbor later reported hearing shouting. Loud. Aggressive. Then a crash. Then nothing. By the time the police arrived at 12:37 a.m., Stephanie was gone. She was found in her apartment, sprawled on the floor, blood pooling around her head. The living room showed signs of a struggle, a shattered lamp, a toppled chair. And Marcus? He was nowhere to be found. But the truth, the inescapable, undeniable truth, was already catching up to him. Stephanie's last text was sent at 12:09 a.m. After that, her phone went silent. But the walls of her apartment held secrets they could never hide. The police report later described the scene in chilling detail. A broken coffee table, deep cracks running through its glass top. A lamp smashed against the hardwood floor, the shade bent and splintered. And then, her body. Stephanie lay on her back, her legs bent at an unnatural angle. Blood pooled around her skull, seeping into the fibers of the gray area rug beneath her. The coroner's report would later confirm she died from blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with being struck by an object, possibly the lamp. But there was something else. A deep bruise around her neck. Signs of strangulation. This wasn't a quick, impulsive act of violence. It was personal. It was rage. The neighbor in the apartment next door, Robert Neal, told officers he heard raised voices, Stephanie's first, sharp and demanding, then Marcus's, lower, angrier. Then a loud crash. Then silence. For nearly 30 minutes, the apartment was eerily quiet. Until the door opened. Robert peeked through the peephole, catching a glimpse of Marcus stepping out, his body tense, his hands stuffed into his hoodie pockets. He moved quickly, down the hall, out of the building, into the night. At 12:37 a.m., Lisa Carter, Stephanie's best friend, called 911. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I got a text from her. She said she was scared. I think something happened to her. The operator tried to keep her calm, but Lisa was already in her car, already speeding toward Stephanie's apartment. When she arrived, the door was unlocked. And then, she saw her. Lisa's screams shattered the silence of the night. Marcus Holloway had vanished. No calls. No texts. No trace. When officers ran his name through the system, they found something alarming. This wasn't Marcus's first brush with violent outbursts. His ex-girlfriend, Tasha Green, had filed a restraining order against him in 2018. The reason? Threats. Stalking. A violent altercation that left her with bruises around her wrists and throat. A pattern was emerging. And then, detectives made a crucial discovery. Stephanie wasn't the first to find out about Marcus's secret. There was another woman. Her name was Vanessa Cruz, a 28-year-old trans woman from Atlanta. And she had receipts. Vanessa had been involved with Marcus for months. Texts, calls, late-night meetups. But when she realized he had a girlfriend, she cut ties. That's when the threat started. Screenshots showed Marcus's messages. Keep your mouth shut. You don't know me like that. If you say anything, you'll regret it. Vanessa never went to the police. She blocked him, moved on. But then, just 2 days before Stephanie's murder, Marcus had called her 14 times. Vanessa never answered. Now, she was terrified. She told detectives everything. How Marcus had a double life, how he panicked when he felt exposed, how he had a temper that could turn deadly. Everything was closing in on him. Marcus Holloway could run. But he couldn't hide forever. Detectives knew time was against them. Marcus Holloway had vanished, but every digital footprint he left behind was a road map leading to his capture. The forensic team began their meticulous examination of Stephanie's apartment. The lamp, the suspected weapon, was dusted for fingerprints. The results were undeniable. Marcus's prints covered the base. His DNA was also found under Stephanie's fingernails. She had fought back. But the biggest breakthrough wasn't physical evidence. It was digital. Detectives pulled Stephanie's phone records. Her last outgoing text, sent at 12:09 a.m., read, "You lied to me. You've been lying this whole time. I hope she was worth it." The recipient? Marcus Holloway. But that wasn't all. Phone company records showed that, just 10 minutes before the murder, Marcus had received a call from an unknown number. A number that led to a burner phone. And that burner phone was traced back to Vanessa Cruz. When detectives confronted her, Vanessa hesitated. But when she realized what had happened, realized what Marcus had done, she finally told them the truth. Marcus had called her that night, frantic, angry, desperate. She knows. She found out. What the F*** am I supposed to do? Asterisk. Vanessa had hung up. Blocked his number. The next time she heard his name, Stephanie was already dead. Marcus was spiraling, and law enforcement knew it was only a matter of time before he made a mistake. And then, he did. At 3:17 a.m., Marcus used his debit card at a gas station in Augusta, Georgia, just 2 hours from Atlanta. Surveillance footage showed him pacing outside the convenience store, nervously looking over his shoulder. He bought 2 bottles of water, a bag of chips, and a prepaid phone. He was running. By 5:42 a.m., that prepaid phone was used to book a one-way bus ticket to Miami, Florida. Marcus was trying to disappear. But what he didn't know was that law enforcement was already tracking his every move. By the time the bus pulled into Miami's downtown station, officers were waiting. The moment Marcus stepped off, wearing the same gray hoodie and jeans he had on the night of the murder, they closed in. "Marcus Holloway, you're under arrest for the murder of Stephanie Lawson." Handcuffed, silent, face expressionless, Marcus didn't resist. But the real battle was just beginning. Inside the interrogation room, detectives wasted no time. "Tell us what happened, Marcus." He sat still, eyes fixed on the metal table in front of him. "Why did you kill her?" Silence. They showed him the forensic evidence. The fingerprints. The DNA. The text messages. They told him about the surveillance footage, the burner phone, the gas station stop, the bus ticket. Marcus exhaled sharply. He knew. He was trapped. His first words were barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to." A detective leaned in. "Then tell us what you meant to do." Marcus's voice broke. She wouldn't stop yelling. "She kept calling me a liar. She said she was gonna tell everyone. I lost it." He buried his face in his hands. "I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted her to stop." The room fell silent. Marcus Holloway had confessed. But was it enough? Or was he still hiding something? The trial of Marcus Holloway became one of the most closely watched cases in Georgia. The courtroom was packed, journalists, activists, and members of the LGBTQ+ community filled the benches, eager to see if justice would be served. The prosecution wasted no time building its case. They presented Stephanie Lawson's final text message as evidence of her confronting Marcus about his secret relationships. They showed crime scene photos, the overturned lamp, the blood-stained carpet, the shattered glass from a picture frame. They called forensic experts who confirmed that Marcus's fingerprints and DNA were found on the weapon and that Stephanie had defensive wounds, proving she fought for her life. Then came the digital forensics team. They revealed Marcus's secret accounts on dating apps, the burner phone registered under Vanessa Cruz's name, and the deleted messages from the night of the murder. It painted a damning picture. Marcus Holloway had a hidden life, and when it was exposed, he snapped. But his defense team fought back. They claimed Marcus acted in the heat of the moment. That he felt threatened, humiliated, and panicked when Stephanie confronted him. They argued that he didn't plan to kill her, that it was a crime of passion, not premeditated murder. Then, they brought up his childhood. Witnesses testified that Marcus grew up in a strict, religious household, where his father instilled in him the belief that any deviation from traditional masculinity was shameful, weak, and punishable. They wanted the jury to see Marcus as a man trapped by his own identity, rather than a cold-blooded killer. But the prosecution wasn't done. They called Vanessa Cruz to the stand. She recounted the phone call Marcus made to her just minutes before the murder. She knows. She found out. What the F*** am I supposed to do? Asterisk. The jury listened in silence. Marcus had time to leave. Time to calm down. Time to make a different choice. But he chose violence. And that, the prosecution argued, was premeditation. For 3 weeks, the trial continued. Stephanie's family members took the stand, her mother, her sister, her best friend. Each one shared the unfillable void left by her murder. A former co-worker testified that Stephanie once told her, "If something ever happens to me, it'll be because of Marcus." The jury deliberated for 4 days. When they returned, the verdict was read. We, the jury, find the defendant, Marcus Holloway, guilty of first-degree murder. Stephanie's mother broke down in tears. Marcus, expressionless, only lowered his head. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the impact of Stephanie's death didn't end in the courtroom. Her family turned their grief into action. They launched the Stephanie Lawson Foundation, dedicated to helping victims of domestic violence and crimes fueled by shame and secrecy. Social media erupted with discussions about hidden identities, double lives, and the deadly consequences of keeping secrets. And then, there were the lingering questions. Could this have been prevented? Stephanie's friends recalled red flags, Marcus's jealousy, his outbursts, his obsession with control. Did anyone else play a role? Some believed Vanessa Cruz knew more than she admitted. Others wondered if Marcus's past partners had similar experiences but never came forward. Were there warning signs overlooked? Stephanie had confided in at least one co-worker about her fears. If someone had stepped in, would she still be alive? Her murder became a tragic reminder of what happens when secrets turn deadly. Stephanie deserved to be heard. And in the end, the truth, her truth, didn't die with her. In the end, one truth remains: secrets can be deadly. Stephanie Lawson's murder wasn't just the result of a heated argument. It was the culmination of fear, shame, and a life built on deception. Marcus Holloway had choices that night. He could have walked away. He could have faced the truth. Instead, he chose violence. Could this crime have been prevented? Was Stephanie's fate sealed the moment she discovered Marcus's secret? Or were there missed opportunities, signs ignored, warnings unspoken, moments where someone could have stepped in? Her story is a reminder. A reminder of the dangers of living in fear of judgment. A reminder of the devastating consequences of shame and secrecy. A reminder that the truth always comes out, one way or another. What do you think? Did Marcus Holloway get the punishment he deserved? Could Stephanie's death have been avoided, or was it inevitable? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. And if you found this case compelling, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive case like this one.